slowly falling down cooler闇へ but never going back touch 向かえどうして高く上げてなお大ボーナなんてもうグッバイしょこりもなくファイナカマと Need another day I will run away from nothing no more どこまでも抗って go on 今超えてく Also ready to break it up I'm not afraid yeah break it Keep it point throw in the dark 自分の力に変え wipe out 今ねじ曲げる視線 I never fall in I never ever care for them 今立ち向かう and I defeat myself I gotta go, skin myself, save for back foot I gotta go, skin myself, see a suspect Time away from me, stop my shadow Smoke, let us set my tongue on a surface I could Nobody knows, cause I can't flow Live fast for the
Hello YouTube, I'm back again with another video. As you can tell by the title, I'm going to be ranking the top 6 Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonists. This is going to be my opinion alone. And since I've watched pretty much every single series, you're going to be able to get my clear thoughts on these rankings and why I order them this way. And whoever agrees or disagrees, they can be sure to comment, but also be sure to stay tuned and let us continue forward with this video. Number 1 spot goes to Yusaku Fujiki from Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns. He's the one who's the main character who uses link summoning, which happens to be the absolute most utter broken summoning mechanic in Yu-Gi-Oh! On top of that, like, he's able to use Storm Access, which literally gets him access to any link monster depending on his life points in the middle of a duel, and it literally changes the tide of the game, you guys. Although it is random, at the same time you also have to add the plot armor in this. On top of that, from what I've seen so far, he's literally, I'm not even sure if I recall, but I'm pretty sure he's never lost a duel. How I know? Because I don't even recall him ever losing once. Which is crazy because, like, an example would be like throughout like the entirety of like the majority of his duels, he's able to link summon tons of link monsters revolving around Cyberse monsters in a single turn. He's managed to master Fusion, Synchro, Exceeds, Ritual Summon on top of that, besides Pendulum. His deck heavily relies on graveyard effects and manipulating link monsters in order to distribute more Cyberse monsters, and they have the ability where they can even gain tons of attack power, or they can be able to like link climb even further to get access to even more powerful link monsters. And again, he's more of a lone wolf. On top of that, to add to boot, to let you guys be aware the type of duelist he is. From what I gathered, like from watching the Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns series, he's capable of like pretty much defeating his own opponents without any moral support, without the help of friends, and for that I definitely give him my respect for sure. He definitely keeps his emotions in check through the most part, but when he feels that there's something if there's somebody or something who's precious to him and he can't be able to reach them, you'll be surprised as he's able to break in character, and he is able to even develop to even someone with more emotion, and it gives the character, it gives Yusaku more of a purpose to win, and he starts to bond more with like side characters, as well as be able to go past the trauma of what he's dealt with as a kid. But at the same time, his trauma also like helped improve him as a duelist, as well as why he is able to maintain that record. Number 2 spot, you guys, has to go to Yusei Fudo due to his intelligence. He's also one of the only protagonists to basically, obviously, ride a dual runner besides Yu-Gi-Oh! Even though he's not the main protagonist, if you guys know who he is. But Yusei Fudo definitely deserves mad props. Again, his intelligence, just right. He has common sense. The only duels that I know that he lost to are obviously Jack Atlas in Flashback, and to Cal Kessler. Some people may say it doesn't count. There's possibly a draw after his Earthbound Immortal Kapakapu attacked Yusei Fudo, and his dual runner like basically collided, and then from there Yusei Fudo ended up falling. But he is a main protagonist. Like, that doesn't have too many flaws, which I can say. He has a lot of monsters that you basically can act as hand traps. He makes the most out of useless cards, and he does that by trying to prove a point to his opponent. And the fact that he's able to make the most out of them in itself, and again, even though this is plot armor, that takes a lot of confidence. It takes a lot of faith. But whenever he's pushed to a corner, and even though the outcome may be against him, he's still driven to success. Like, and I'm not denying that, like, of course, he's bound to make mistakes, but he's immediately able to like fix that mistake and just be able to like get to a clear path. And he is clearly not a selfish person. He's very concerned about his friends. He tries to do whatever he can. If he knows somebody that happens to be evil, that someone who may be close to him, he's trying to do whatever he can to get them to join forces. And at the same time, although he wasn't aware about the marks of the signers, he's the one who brought them all together and made 5Ds what it is today. Team 5Ds. And he's known to duel with honor and respect, and he's always giving it his best. But of course, utilizes junks, utilizes warriors, utilizes Stardust, and he in himself is already experienced duelist without having to say much, especially at the start of the show. But whenever someone needs help, he's willing to do it with no charge. But overall, with his might, with his skill, he's able to prove a problem to those even that are deities or have control of even like powers that are beyond his hand, beyond his control. And he has proven that he's able to make a difference no matter the outcome. And he is the definition of success. And I look at him like he's somebody that you would look up to as a great duelist and a great role model. Top 3, obviously Jaden Yuki deserves this spot. Unfortunately, he's not able to best Yusei Fudo and Yusaku, in my opinion. Not because he's a slifer slacker, but just doesn't have the traits that can be able to keep up with those two. Overall, he has basically a lot of clutch moments in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Again, plot armor, considering how confusing his card choices are. They don't seem like they're like ever consistent cards. He just master the right card necessary in order to beat a certain situation. And like the saying goes, he has a like catchphrase where it's like it's either get your game on, but then he's also true when it comes to the duel isn't over until the last card's played. But his growth begins to spurt because he learns more about himself. My only issue I had is he should have never played Neospacians, and in the show they claim that they were basically, again, I understand they're meant to help save the world along with Jin Yuki, but the Neospacians themselves said that they've been they're basically created by Jaden Yuki himself, and they'll help enhance his deck in order to beat the further threats. But if you look at their effects, you guys, just absolutely garbage, except Neo Space Dolphin. But no, I mean Neo Aqua Dolphin. My bad. But the only reason they're ever even good is because they're meant to actually do contact fusion, and that's when contact fusion was first introduced. But it does require specific fusion monsters. Like obviously you gotta have the Elemental Hero Neos, as well as the other Neospacians, in order for Jane to go into a specific Elemental Hero without the use of polymerization. But on top of that, what makes them even worse is that when you do manage to fusion summon using contact, during the end phase, that monster gets shuffled back into the deck after you shuffle the fusion material monsters. Like they're literally only good for one turn, unless you have Neo Space. But overall, considering the amount of hero support they have, like I'm talking about Jane Yuki, and I'm not gonna include Aster or again the Supreme King, but we're gonna get into that later. But I feel like if Jaden were to combine all the hero cards, including like again Aster Phoenix, he wouldn't even need Neospacians whatsoever. He should just rely on every single hero card, Omni Heroes, Masked Heroes, Elemental Heroes, Destiny Heroes, Evil Heroes. And speaking of evil heroes, the best part of the series, especially in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, near the end, is when Jane starts to learn his destiny and how he has to be able to overcome the Supreme King in order to realize for himself that is part of him, and that if he does not be able to like overcome his fear of the Supreme King or who he is and what's inside of him, he will never be the duelist, the best duelist that he's meant to be. And I'm reiterating what Bastion said to him in season 3. But the thing was though, I'm not gonna lie, he was definitely using a great archetype. It had a lot more potential, although he was winning a lot of duels, and he was able to win with like the most clutch moments out of all the other characters, which that's true. But there was never a need for Neospacians, because I feel like rather than helping his deck get better, it was just simply hindering the deck, and I feel like that's something they should never introduce. Never should have had Neospacians. Of course, introduce contact, but Neospacians should never have been a thing, because I feel like it makes Jaden look like a sloppy, ignorant duelist and someone who did not know how to build a proper deck. And Neospatians were not that good in my eyes. And for anybody who knows, especially if you look at the current format, I feel like they served no purpose but for the story. And of course, he won because of plot armor, and therefore they're gonna have to nerf the character to make sure that he doesn't win with ease. If you catch what I mean with this. Number 4, you guys, has to go Yuma Tsukumo from Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. Um, Obviously, there was a lot of disappointing duels, and I get at the same time it's to showcase him being an immature kid, being a complete noob, and how I get it. They were trying to start something different with the protagonist, because usually throughout many of the Yu-Gi-Oh series, the main protagonist is always expected to win almost every single duel, even if it's not even that important. But I did like the rise out of Yuma Tsukumo, as well as him being able to um, be accomplished with Astro, because I feel like that way Yuma was able to get used to dueling and be able to meet new friends. And although he was the only one that could see Astro, and he was getting angry whenever Astro would tell him to, he would look like the delirious, delusional one. And I definitely had sympathy for Yuma at that point. You have this ghost, and of course you're the only one that could see him, but at the same time it came from his ki. But it was all gonna help him out later on. It was all gonna prove good otherwise. And how he can be able to reach the next step forward. To be able to know how important it is to figure out your opponent, in which Astro was telling Yuma, although yes, Yuma was very dense. And then I get it, nobody likes being told what to do. But at the same time, it also irritated me because Astro, although it may seem like Astro was being condescending in trying to play for Yuma, at the same time, it would help to actually take Astro's advice and not make arrogant, foolish mistakes. But I do give him props. He definitely managed to exceed into different forms, in which at the same time, yes, he will be able to change his extra deck as well as determine his draw, but at the same time, that's one thing. It wasn't really a surprise anymore, which I definitely, again, it is again plot armor at the same time, but it was no surprise when he had the power to utilize Destiny Draw. So basically, he's always guaranteed to draw the card he wants, and we're going to speak about a certain individual, which is later, and I'm not going to mention who that is. But at the same time, it just felt completely played out. And although I do like the fact that it's through his past losses and throughout all that Yuma has went through and the knowledge that he's gained, it also helped him win very important duels. And it also made him understand Astro better, and it taught him to have more confidence and realize the difference between right and wrong, and being able to avoid misplays, and to be able to pursue others, to encourage them to do the right thing and follow in the right path. And that if there's a will, there's a way. And that he's hoping both sides could just get along and be able to reside with each other. And overall, again, I'm not really gonna go in and hate Yuma too much, but I do respect him for being a sympathetic person. I do like the fact that he cares for all sides, and then again, you can't have it both ways. But he tries to literally bring the best out of everyone, and that's something to look forward to. but at the same time, he's not able to live up to the potential of the other characters that I mentioned earlier. And of course, there's a lot of flaws. And again, may a lot of it may have to do with his age, or just simply because of his incompetence, because of being arrogant, hot-headed, or being too naive. But again, even with throughout all the impossibles, he's managed to make it possible. Number 5 goes to Yuya Sakaki from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. And the reason why he is number 5 and he doesn't compare to the previous duelists, simply because he relies too much on action cards. He's heavily reliant on pendulum summoning, and he's very arrogant about it, because I remember an episode where he was surprised someone else could pendulum summon. He thought he was the only one that could use it, but didn't fail to realize eventually there would be pendulum cards developed so that it could balance, it could even out the field, and that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters in itself could be fair. And although, yes, he's able, I'll give him credit, he's able to use fusion, exceeds, synchro summoning, besides ritual, and of course Lynx was never introduced. But it was it was never, there was never anything really appealing to Yuya, except when he would be able to be, whenever he would turn to Zarg, because it gave him like an interesting look, being him being antagonist rather than protagonist. But again, he was very goofy. Whether his purpose was to entertain people, but at the same time, I actually believe he was a completely lousy duelist, simply because he mainly relied on action spells and pendulum monsters, and you hardly see him use spells or traps in his main deck. And that's the issue that I have with Yuya. As well as, on top of that, he's trying to force his belief on others. And again, I understand wanting peace, but not everyone sees dueling as entertainment, because there could be those dueling to save someone, there could be those dueling in order to please others, or they really need that money, they really need that paper in order to cover for their livelihood. So I just find it very irritating how you was trying to make everyone see his point of view, but not he's failed to, as not everyone has to, based on their condition, based on their personal life or their condition, or what they see is fitting for them. But besides that, that's his only way of winning, because yeah, he's won important duels, but he comes off as a lousy player because he has no other tactics, he has no other strategies outside of pendulum summoning and action cards. And he just throws me off as someone who's very picky with his card choices. And maybe I'll say this, I did like his voice in the Japanese dub. But in the English dub, I personally felt like either, again, they didn't have enough money to pay certain actors in order to like suit the role, to suit the character, to fit the character, but there could be more that I'm missing that I haven't brought up. But there's a lot of flaws with this character. Just to remind you guys, like, it's just the fact that I'm not respecting people for being nice. He is too much of a goody two shoes, as well as being arrogant. Because even if someone may be very nice, they may be very happy, they're only in it for themselves, and that's what Yuya's in it for. But at the same time, it's like, he makes assumptions, and he's so quick to go in on this without knowing their situation as why they the way the why they the way they are. He doesn't try to look and try to understand where they're coming from. And to go after Declan, and of course, Declan definitely deserves some backlash for not being open about the Lancers. But at the same time, it's like, what's more important? Saving the girl that you have a crush on? Of course, Yuzu definitely is a priority as well. But on top of that, there's more important things as to trying to save the world and making sure that catastrophe doesn't happen to the point where many may cease to exist. But I only felt he became more interesting once they introduced Zark, and Zark himself. Personally feel like Yuya was better as the antagonist because you get to see the more intriguing part of his character, as well as it is more intense. He has more reason to be evil, as is explained why, because the amount that people expect from him. But as well, I'm just gonna have to loose and say Yuya sucks. And again, he had some good. I'll admit he had definitely had some great extract monsters, as well as he should. Again, performer pals, way too many performer pal monsters, and that's the issue I had the most. Is that the majority of them had really garbage effects. Personally, you guys, Yuya was better off playing Magician Pendulums, as well as mainly Odd Eyes, as well as some performer pal monsters. If we're talking about like Skull Crowback Joker or Pendulum Sorcerer, chances are his deck would have a chance and actually be able to get into like more powerful extra deck monsters, being able to like make the most out of his duels. But because of his cheerful, goofy, annoying attitude, I really cannot stand him, you guys. And I understand it's to nerf the protagonist, but at the same time, try to make him at least exciting and less boring. The worst duelist, you guys, has to be Yugi Moto in my opinion. Although I'm not going to really include Atem too much because it's mainly relying on the main protagonist here, and for obvious reasons why. A lot of his cards are completely outdated besides Dark Magician, although it may have gone past support, but it hasn't managed to clinch as many duels. Think about it. It's too heavily reliant on normal monsters, as well as if you guys were to watch the anime, I would say throughout Duelist Kingdom, Battle City, while Atem takes over, because you'll notice Yugi Moto uses his Millennium Puzzle to turn into Atem in order to help him be able to like brace the impact in order to change the outcome of a duel. And how I know is because Atem has the power to use his Millennium Puzzle to determine what card he needs, as well as he's able to like contradict the effects of a card, and it's clearly not fully explained how the card works because there's really enough proof, enough detail. He says this is how the card works and he explains why, but there's no clear description as to how the card is activated and how he managed to summon this monster, play the spell, trap. Crazy enough, he's even able to activate normal spells during the opponent's turn. I mean, I get it. Same goes for the other players. He's literally even able to activate a trap card he just set the turn he played, and although I may be exaggerating, but he's a flat out massive cheater. Not the fact that Yugi transforms into a 10 that in order to be able to like face his opponent, even though Yugi's the one that's not really standing up to the opponent. It's a 10 most of the time. And sure, Yugi was able to make up for it by winning important duels. But he's only done a selected few. But if you were to actually have Yugi Moto compete with the duelists throughout the new series, trust me when I say he will not have a chance without the power of a 10. And it goes to show how crazy his plot armor just crazy his plot armor is. Like, although yes, a 10 is a powerful spirit and he's able to determine the outcome of a duel, but it just doesn't make sense how he's able to alter the effects of a card, which till this day I'm sure a lot of people are confused. And he definitely does not deserve to be the best duelist in my opinion. Although yes, he may be the first king of games in the first Yu-Gi-Oh series, because this is just the start of Duel Monsters. Yu-Gi-Oh was still at its like prime. Yu-Gi-Oh was still new at the time, and although yes, the original trading card game, the first ever format, could have possibly saved Yu-Gi-Oh, because I get it, people are missing like where traps used to be relevant, where there wasn't too many special summons, and unfortunately that's the only way Yugi himself can play, as well as like people from his modern time. And if he was to duel right now with his current deck, he clearly would have no chance at ever being able to break boards in order to like be able to like outmatch big problematic cards that are further more upgraded than his already current deck. And which his current deck can do is be able to implement ways of trying to out-problem cards that are a lot more devastating, and cards that are a lot more quicker, which can be monsters that activate during the opponent's turn, as well as being able to access more special summons and not heavily rely too many normal summons, since normal summons can be bricks throughout a lot of games depending how you utilize your deck. And Yugi has a mishmash of cards, does not have a certain archetype he can rely on, which will make his deck inconsistent to the point where he's going to have to draw a specific card if he ever wants a chance. And the only way to do that is to rely on a 10. And that's clearly the point behind Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. But had it been that format from the beginning, then maybe it would be fair to say that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a lot more balanced and that Yugi has a possible chance to be able to reclaim his title, to be able to reclaim his championship title, to where if you guys watch Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Yu-Gi-Oh! Lost his fighting spirit. Yugi Moto lost his fighting spirit while growing up, and we assumed that he was a 10, but then you find out eventually that he retired from dueling, and he was willing to give away Winkribo to Jade and Yuki, letting us be aware that It was Atem himself that made Yugi who he is today. But without him, it's caused him a lot of depression, and he sees no purpose in continuing dueling, to the point where he does not have the same passion and confidence like he did while being protected, while being safeguarded by Atem. And it's safe to say that without him, although yes, Yugi has won without Atem, but it's safe to say that his confidence, it cannot be found. His fighting spirit cannot be found either. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that he was reliant on friends, and whatever his friends said or who encouraged him helped him overcome duels, as well as, not much to explain, plot armor itself, and rather difficult how he's able to alter the duel thanks to the Millennium Puzzle itself. But not much to say, and let's 100% be real, he has no chance with his current deck because it is not efficient enough, you guys. It's not able to keep up with all the current decks that are pretty much further beyond what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, what we fully did not expect, and don't be surprised if Yugi starts losing several times. But from there, you guys, I'm gonna have to end it off. Hopefully you guys enjoy my list and be able to share your opinions provided down below in the comments. Be sure to check for more upcoming content later in the future. Be sure to check your notifications, comment, subscribe. Thank you.
また夜が明ければお別れ夢は時幻に